Skeletal muscle excitation, the dots. The dots are facts about skeletal muscle excitation. Let's talk about the structure of axons, the neuromuscular junction, and skeletal muscle. The neuromuscular junction, the junction where motor neurons signal to muscle cells, includes the axon terminal, the synaptic cleft, and the postsynaptic motor end plate on the muscle cell. The motor end plate provides a large surface area to offer a high density of receptors, ion channels, and acetylcholine esterases. So how does the axon send a message to the muscle cell? A motor neuron is stimulated, creating a signal in the form of sodium ion influx, propagating down the axon to the axon terminal as the axon membrane depolarizes. This neuron action potential activates voltage-gated calcium channels to open, and calcium influx causes the acetylcholine-filled vesicles in the axon terminal to fuse with the axon membrane, releasing acetylcholine into the synaptic cleft. Diffusing across the synaptic cleft, acetylcholine reaches the postsynaptic motor end plate and binds to nicotinic acetylcholine receptors. Acetylcholine binding to receptors results in the opening of the non-selective cation channels, permitting fast sodium inflow for depolarization and delayed potassium outflow for repolarization. Inflow of sodium is determined by the sodium electrochemical gradient. This gradient is about 150 millivolts and is computed as the absolute difference between the resting membrane potential, minus 90 millivolts, in skeletal muscle, and the sodium Nernst equilibrium potential, plus 60 millivolts. Adding the absolute value of minus 90 and plus 60 equals the 150 millivolts of electrochemical gradient forcing sodium into the cell, creating an action potential. For rapid destruction of acetylcholine, acetylcholine esterases reside in the synaptic cleft, lowering binding to end plate receptors, slowing depolarization. So how does the action potential in muscle cell cause contraction? Voltage-gated sodium channels allow sodium influx depolarization, the muscle membrane, leading to a voltage calcium release. Enough calcium influx then causes calcium-induced calcium release from the sarcoplasmic reticulum, leading to muscle cell contraction. There are 4 characteristics that make muscle tissue different from other tissues. Number 1. Skeletal muscle is excitable and voluntary, meaning that a motor neuron must stimulate it by releasing acetylcholine and causing an action potential leading to contraction of the muscle. Number 2. Skeletal muscles are contractile. Depolarization and calcium release cause muscle sarcomeres to shorten, forcibly causing active tension. Number 3. Muscles are extensible, meaning that muscle can be stretched beyond its normal resting length, producing passive tension that decreases active tension. Number 4. Muscle is elastic. When you try and stretch muscle, it resists, and once stretched, it coils back to its original size. The next video will connect the dots or facts about skeletal muscle excitation and the coupling of excitation to contraction.